that's impacted if you have oil that spoils our beaches, our property values, and everything else. Now, I think the bigger issue, though, is what are we doing about our energy policy? Because those people continue to talk about oil drilling, didn't learn this back in '73, and we're still dealing with it today. We should have a 10-year energy plan that literally says we will be energy independent. And it will be partly oil, of course, but also should be solar, wave, wind, you name it. Why aren't we the solar capital of the world right here in Florida? We are the Sunshine State. It makes sense to me.
Please. No, go ahead.
Okay. We're the Sunshine State. So the bottom line is this. We need to make sure that we have businesses, taxes, incentives. FPL is building a big solar plant in Arcadia right now. They told us that they have to buy the mirrors for this over in Germany or China. That's ridiculous. They said it would cost less because of transportation insurance if we were building them right here in Florida. So we need to have long-term tax policies that encourage business and industry, knowing that there's going to be a place for this kind of industry. We will build them here, we will use them here, we will sell them other places in the United States, and we can export them worldwide. That's about national security, that's about jobs, and that's about a good environment.
Thank you very much. Let's move on now to moving on to round three. Mr. Bennett, a question for the Congressman.
Congressman, the health care bill that you voted for includes a provision, I think, to raise $17 billion in revenue that would basically require any company to fill out a Form 1099 for any transaction it has buying goods totaling $600 a year or more. And this could be just a mountain of paperwork for a lot of businesses. Were you aware of that provision when you voted for the health care bill? And is this an example of this huge piece of legislation that has a lot of consequences that people weren't really aware of when they voted for it in March?
No, I think that, first of all, I voted for the bill, and I think the bill is going to do a lot of things, particularly for our Medicare population, of reducing the donut hole, which is a big issue for a lot of people. It'll get rid of co-payments for mammograms and things like that. Those are very important things, and as a strong supporter of Medicare, AARP endorsed this bill on behalf of our senior population. That's probably the most important thing for seniors. But beyond that, I think for businesses, I think it has a lot of good things. It has tax credits for small business. It gets rid of pre-existing conditions. It gets rid of ability to cancel insurance if you get sick. Those are all good things. Now, at the same time, I've already heard from some businesses, and I've been meeting with a lot of people about the health care bill, and now we're at the stage where people are saying, what does this mean to me? And when a lot of businesses say, oh, I didn't know I got a tax credit, that's a good thing. Or I'll be able to pool my purchasing power to reduce the cost of my insurance over the next couple of years so I can compete with IBM by having my two employees in 18 and 55 all come together and have a larger pool to purchase. That will reduce prices. The example that you just pointed out, the 1099, yeah, I knew about it, but I didn't think at the time that it was going to be a big issue. But it is. And that's a good example of understanding when people say all the health care bill is good or it's all bad. It's like Medicare. Medicare wasn't created in one day in a perfect form. It was improved over the years. And that's what we should think about the health care. There are a lot of good things in here. There are about 3 or 4 things that I've already heard from some people that say you need to go back and fix them. I said, absolutely, we're going to make this better, refine it, fix the things that don't work well. The 1099 thing needs to be fixed.
Mr. Bennett, question for Mr. West.
Staying on the subject of health care, you've said there's some provisions in the health care bill that you've been critical of it, but you said there's a few things you'd like to keep. The overall mission of the health care bill, one of the big selling points was that it would cover these millions of people that don't have insurance now. What things would you want to keep in the health care bill, and what would you do specifically to address an issue like the uninsured people?
Sure. I think one of the most important things you have to look at is the fact about pre-existing conditions. I do support that. I think also as far as closing the donut hole for Medicare recipients, that's very important. But I think when we look at this healthcare law, we are already seeing it starting to unravel. The fact that Blue Cross Blue Shield last week announced that will be tripling their rates next January is something that lets you know. And many of you that I've spoken to are already saying that you're seeing your insurance premiums that are starting to go up already. So I think the most important thing with healthcare, we never looked at what are the reasons why healthcare is expensive. What are the things that are causing healthcare to be so taxing for the American citizen? First and foremost, we need to sat down with our doctors and talked about the influence of catastrophic litigation and tort reform. I think that also when you look at the fact with this insurance, how they are dominating this thing called healthcare, when you have these state-by-state little mini fiefdoms with insurance, they are driving out competition. We need to open up the nationwide competition, as well as we should not have insurance commissioners that are telling the American citizen what needs to be in your insurance program and plan. So those are the means by which we bring it down. Health savings accounts. Health savings accounts is another great way what empowers the American people to take care of some routine medical practices and things of that nature. But yet we are seeing, as part of this health care law, we are taxing health savings accounts. We're driving people away from having those health savings accounts. When you talk to small business owners, they're putting people off of insurance plans that they have because they just can't afford it, because of the taxes, because of the regulation. So I think that we need to go back and look at the cost analysis of healthcare and tackle it in that way. I'm not one that says you throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are a couple of things about the healthcare law that we need to sustain, but we really did not look at what is the bottom line about cost analysis and making sure we can drive the costs down.
Thank you, sir. All right, Michelle Gargan from the Palm Beach Daily News. A question for Congressman Klein.
Congressman Klein, how do you propose fixing the problem of illegal immigration, and what do you propose we do with the millions of undocumented workers already in this country?
Well, first of all, this is a very serious issue, and the reason Arizona had to act is because the federal government hadn't acted for a long time, and Arizona, with its border, and Texas and California have thousands of people streaming across. And it is not just a question of just thinking about it. This is really a question of national security and making sure we enforce our laws. So I supported just recently even more people on the border, customs, and other people to be protecting those borders. But let's start with the number one thing. You have to have secure borders. So I think everybody understands that, and there has to be a commitment to do that. Number two, we are a nation of laws. We have to enforce our laws. A lot of people are hiring people, and they come here because they get jobs as illegal employees. You know, we're a nation of immigrants. My grandparents were immigrants. They came here, but they came here and they were sponsored by family members. They learned English, they paid their bills, they obeyed the law, and they became a success in this country. And that's the way it is. And that's the way it should be today as well. As far as specifically the people that are here already, you could take one extreme which says deport all of them, and I don't know how realistic that is, or the other extreme says make them citizens. I don't believe in amnesty. I don't think you want to bring people and allow people to come here and get citizenship. I do think there may be a possibility of considering some plan where people can work here if they pay a fine for violating our laws, if they learn English, and they work here and pay taxes. In that case, then we may have some type of legal status to allow them to stay here, but not citizenship.
Ms. Dargan, a question for Mr. West.
Mr. West, I'd like to ask you the same question.
Sure.
How do you propose fixing the problem of illegal immigration, and what do you propose we do with the millions of undocumented workers already in this country?
Well, first and foremost, we do need to understand that America is a constitutional republic, and being so, we are operating under the rule of law. And if you study the Constitution, you will see in Article 1, Section 8, Article 1, Section 10, Article 4, Section 4, and then also the 10th Amendment, which lays down the responsibilities of the federal government and also the abilities of the state to protect its citizens in case of imminent danger and opportunity to act without delay. And of course, we must understand, being a federal system, that it is a responsibility for the states. The most important thing we need to understand with illegal immigration is the operative word illegal. And realize this one simple thing: you can have attrition by enforcement. Let's face it, the last person who granted amnesty was a Republican president. And what did that give us? That gave us now a situation we don't really understand and have control over. We need to secure our borders, and we need to enforce our laws first and foremost. We need to make E-Verify mandatory. E-Verify then would cause people not to be able to hire illegals, and they would have to face a penalty or a fine because of that. We need to look at our United States Border Patrol. There is a war going on our southern border right now. And we have a border patrol that could use better equipping, better training, and also the ability to work in conjunction with, military members. So I would propose bringing the border patrol under the Department of Defense and allow them to have that type of training, that type of equipping. I do not support amnesty because I think you must respect us as the United States of America, and anyone who has broken our laws has not done that. So I do not believe in an amnesty program. I think that if we stand up for our rules and regulations and our laws, you will see an attrition by enforcement. And then sometime later down the line, we can look and see how we can have a guest worker program. But for right now, the most important thing, securing our borders, enforcing our laws, attrition by enforcement, E-Verify being mandatory, and get the United States Border Patrol some support and help.
All right, thank you, sir. We're now moving to the final round of our questions for the candidates from our two reporters. Mr. Bennett, question to Mr. West.
Mr. West, you've said on several occasions that you'd like to replace the current progressive income tax code with a flat tax on income of around 13%.
Yeah.
And then you've also said that that flat tax could be a bridge